Okay, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Bill Lester. I'm with University of Florida IFAS Extension Service here in Hernando County. And today I'm here with one of our master gardeners, Jason Murray, and he is going to teach you all about putting together a small, easy-to-build hydroponic setup that you can do at home, and it's going to help you to be able to grow more of your own healthy, nutritious food all on your own. So I know a lot of times normally I give these classes, but today I'm letting Jason do it because I'm going to be the helper and he's going to be the instructor basically. Teresa, how many people do we have on here so far?
Let's count 67.
Okay, that's great. We have almost 70 people on here, which shows that this is a really popular topic right now. A lot of people are very concerned about growing their own food at home and becoming more sustainable. So hopefully you enjoy. And if you want to ask a question, we're going to go through and try to be able to answer all the questions at the very end. If you look at the very bottom of your screen and click where it says chat, you can type your questions in, and then at the very end, we'll try to go through the chat and read the questions and answer them. But other than that, Jason, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you just tell me how I can help here, if I can help.
Yep. Thank you. All right. So now that we're properly socially distanced, the goal of this morning is to try to give you enough information so that you can set up a system that's similar to this. This has been running in the office extension office for about 2 weeks now, and I just want to do a quick, I don't know how zoomed you are on that, but we have lettuce growing here. So it does work. You want to make sure that you get good quality seeds, because I think what happened here is we had some older seeds that I tried to use and only one of them really took off. So with that, I'll start with a demonstration. Usually when I start these, I start them in what looks like a styrofoam burger box. And that gives me a couple of opportunities. I can control the environment, but I can also now, if the seed doesn't take off, I can start another seed right away. And so what I use for this is a product called rock wool. It's basically spun rock that will absorb water really well. And it is food grade, so you can use it in hydroponics. You just want to make sure that you get the rock wool that is designed for hydroponics. Recently, they started selling rock wool at Lowe's, but that's meant for insulation. It's not meant for hydroponics. So you want to take your cubes and you want to soak them first. So I have a little cup of water here. This is what they'll look like before. This is what they'll look like after. They'll be a little bit darker, so give me 1 second. So after you soak your cubes, you can go ahead and put in your seeds. And then I just close the lid. About 3 to 5 days, depending on what seeds you get. At my experience anyway, I've used black-seeded Simpson and I've used red sales lettuce. It takes about 3 to 5 days for them to sprout. Once you get the first leaves coming out of the top of the rock wool, it's ready to go into the system. So now you have your seeds ready. I'm going to move on to showing you how to finish up one of these systems. So it does help to have a bit of a tool, a drill with a hole saw, and that hole saw needs to match the diameter of the net cups that you end up using. And we have covered this in a different demonstration, and I'm not sure if we can link back to it, but we give information about the types of net cups and where you can get them. But basically what this is a vessel for the rock wool to sit in. So, as you can see, I've already cut 3 holes. I'm going to go ahead and cut another one. The trick to this is once you get this first hole cut in the plastic, you actually want to turn the drill to run in reverse, because that gives you a cleaner cut and it doesn't grab the plastic as much. This stuff does make a little bit of a mess, so you I like these. I'll go into explaining this container in just a minute, but I like this lid because I can turn it upside down right into the the bucket here, and it catches most of the dust, most of the shavings. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm actually kind of rocking the drill a little bit around in a circle to make sure that I get a really clean cut. So now I have my 4 holes cut, and I've got that plastic in here. I'm going to dump it really quick. And when you cut the holes out with a hole saw, you're going to have 4 of these left. Save these, because if you cut them in half, you can actually set them on top of the neck cup, and that will help with any algae pressure that you might get on the rock wool as you're growing your lettuce. So you just cut them in half and you just kind of set them on top, and I'll show that in just a minute. Okay, so back to the container. I really like these containers. They're available at Lowe's. I'm not endorsing this container. I just like this container because it does have actually the raised lid. So it brings the neck cups up above the level of the storage box itself. And it has the locking handles. That way, if you do have to move the container at all, it's really going to help you keep all that water from sloshing out too much. And so I think what we'll do is probably leave a link for the type of the container.
Sure, we could do that.
All right, so now that I have my container ready, I really need to start filling it. So you're going to have about 4 gallons of nutrient solution in this container. That'll support about 4 heads of lettuce or spinach or whatever leafy green you plan on growing in here. And then the way I mix up my nutrients is I use just a plastic container about half full. And then I'll put all 4 scoops of the nutrient solution in the container. So I've already put 3 in here. I'm going to go ahead and put the 4. So a dry mix is actually better to start with. A dry mix is actually better to start with because if you get the wet mixes, they might actually congeal the nutrients, and it's harder to get them to shake out into the solution after that. So I start with dry mixes. That way I don't have that issue. Once I see that this is pretty well mixed, I'm ready to put it into the container. So you want to make sure that your container is in a spot where you want it to grow when you start filling it. That way you don't have to worry about moving it too much. I'm going to go ahead and fill this here, and then we'll move it later. But and I'm not going to waste the solution. I'm going to take it out. But for the demo, I really need to do it right here for you. If you see some of the solution hasn't mixed up really well, that's all right. You can always mix it back up just before you put your plants in. in there. This will be the toughest to show on camera, I think, but how high to fill it. So I don't know if you can zoom in on this. It's kind of dark too, but try to show this on camera. So on the bottom of your neck cups, you're going to have the support that runs around the rim or around the edge there. You want to make sure that when you fill this up, you put the neck cup in to the container and fill it up to where it's at least halfway between the bottom and that first rim, at least 1/4 of an inch submerged. So how I do this is I put in one of the neck cups and I'll pour water into one of the holes until I see that it's getting filled up to that level. So just be careful. If you spill a little bit, it's just water. Nutrient solution filled in. I've got my seeds ready. I've got all my holes cut, the container's in its final place. You just put the rest of the neck cups in the container. Make sure they're still all submerged. So you want this to be on a fairly level surface. You take your seeds out of a little burger box here, and then just push them down until you can feel that they hit the bottom. If you need to, you can pull it out and just make sure that they are sitting on the bottom. And so that is how to set up the 4-station or 4-head setup. I also brought, not too much, but just another idea. It's a similar, it's the same concept. It's passive hydroponics, but it's only 1 gallon. So for these, this is obviously just a used water bottle. I painted the body black to try to keep the algae pressure from inside the container itself. You would fill this just similarly all the way up to near the top, just to where the rock wool itself will sit right in the solution. For this, you would only use 1 scoop of the solution, and then you would just put the rock wool right in and make sure that it's sitting in the solution. And I use these 2 little skewers just to keep the rock wool from going down into the container as the plant grows. The one thing you want to be careful about with this setup, it will get a little top heavy. So you want to make sure you put it in a place or set it up in a way that when the plant does actually start drawing the nutrients out of the container, it doesn't want to topple over. And just following up on this, I don't know if Teresa can catch this part. Just put these, just set them there. It doesn't have to be perfect, just enough to block the light off the rock wool and keep the algae from growing. So with that.
Okay, I'm sure we have a lot of questions on here, and I'll go ahead and read them to you.
Okay.
So,
Someone asked they'd like to see the nutrient, what nutrient you're using.
Okay, so
And if you could lift up the bag so they
Sure
can
thing.
see it.
yeah, it's called MaxiGrow. It's from a company called General Hydroponics. This is just one brand that you could use. When you look for a dry hydroponic solution, what you want to make sure is it's for a growth stage, and it has all the micronutrients included. There's a couple of mixes out there that you can find online that'll also work really well, but it involves more than just one of a dry solution. So my preference is to make it easy, so I don't have to think, I don't have to mix. I do use the MaxiGrow from General Hydroponics.
Okay, we finally found the chat room here, so let me go ahead and start reading through these. We have greetings from Miami. So we have people from all over. A lot of good mornings, and thank you for the presentations. Let me mention at this point, because I know that we did get a few questions on Facebook also about if we're going to record this, and if so, where we're going to put it. We are recording this presentation, and I'll go ahead and pull it together this afternoon and post it to Facebook. I'll try to post it to the event posting, so the people who find the event can find the finished video and watch it over and over if they'd like to. And of course, if you have any questions down the road after watching the recording, feel free to get in contact with us. We're more than happy to answer all your questions. They seem a little confused about the rock wool.
It comes in multiple sizes, and it generally comes in a package if you're buying it in this size. So it comes in a sheet like this, and then you would just break off a cube. This size is perfect for the 2-inch neck cups, and this is a 1.5-inch starter plug from the company's called Groden. But again, I'm not really endorsing any particular product. I'm just saying this is what I use. So feel free to find other products that are hydroponic safe. And there's even other methods to do this. Coconut core, perlite, almost anything that you can use for gardening, you could try with this method. Just know that if you use a perlite or you use a coconut core, you might get some of that product down into the nutrient solution. It's actually not the end of the world. It's not a big deal if you get some of that in the nutrient solution, because everything's food safe and hydroponic safe. So.
Okay, and people who are asking about the rock wool, they are cubes, little squares, are those 1-inch cubes?
They're 1.5-inch starter plugs.
Okay, these are the 1.5-inch starter plug cubes. And somebody mentioned that you could try Amazon if you're looking to buy them. Sure. So look on Amazon. There's a number of companies that make them. I mean, we don't recommend one over another. Somebody mentioned you can buy the supplies on Amazon or any gardening center that sells hydroponic supplies. That's true. Questions about if you can access the presentation later on. Like I said, yes. I'll try to have it up by later on this afternoon. And another question about what is the name of the nutrient? And that was?
MaxiGrow from General Hydroponics.
Okay. And then what is the liquid in the plastic jug? Maybe the spray painted plastic jug, maybe.
Well, there's no liquid in here.
Mm-hmm.
So you would do something similar. You would take 1 tablespoon of the nutrient solution here. You would fill it up about halfway with water. I still have the cap, so I would, at that point, I would just shake it, kind of like what I did before. And then once the nutrients get mixed up really well, I would add more water up into the point where I know that if I stuck the rock wool down in, it would be sitting down in the solution.
And with that specific fertilizer, the ratio for the mix is 1 scoop per gallon of water?
1 tablespoon per gallon.
Okay, 1 tablespoon. Okay, great.
Yeah. It does come with a scoop included, so you don't really have to think. You'll just use if you do buy this product, it comes with a scoop. There's there's two parts to the scoop, which I'll show you real quick. The big part is the tablespoon.
Okay. And then we have a question about how do I start the seeds? I think somebody was either came in a little bit late or isn't sure about exactly how to start those seeds when you do.
Okay, so how I start my seeds is in a little styrofoam container like this. I'll break off 4 cubes. If I have nutrient solution already made, I'll actually soak them in that. Try to get it right up to the top. That way the seeds get a little kick to get started. And this rock wool really soaks up water like a sponge. And so I'll soak all 4 of the cubes in the nutrient solution or water. And then each one of the cubes has, I don't know, it's tough to see here, but each one of the cubes has a small hole in the top.
Okay.
Where you can put the seed. And so once I've soaked all 4 of the rock wool cubes, I'll close the lid and just set this in a place to get some pretty good light, just so the seeds will have some light when they do germinate and they don't run out. My experience is it's taken about 3 to 5 days for them to sprout. And once they have the first leaves, I put them in the system.
Okay, I think about the only other 2 questions we had is one is about algae pressure. You mentioned algae pressure for a couple times, if you could explain that a little bit. And somebody asked if we could put together a list of all the different pieces that you would need for a project like this. So if you want to. Yeah, okay, so algae pressure. Algae is relentless and it will find its way into the system. So what I would recommend is don't do anything about it. Just try to keep it as minimal as possible. And so what will happen is if you get some algae on top of the rock wool, it will turn, solid green, basically. It's not the end of the world if you get it in your system. So the idea is that if you use these little cutouts that you have, just to try to keep it as minimal as possible, you can wrap those cutouts around the plant itself, and that will keep light from getting onto the rock wool and allowing the algae to grow. If you have a system like this and you don't, shade out light, algae is going to get on the roots, and that's going to, inhibit the plant's growth. So for a system like this, I would definitely, paint the container, because otherwise you're going to be growing more algae than lettuce. Does that answer? I hope that answers the question. I think so, yeah. And I think that pretty much covers it. Like I said, if anybody, after watching this presentation, has any additional questions, please get in contact with us. And we'll work on putting together something in writing, if you'd like to, with a complete list of all the different parts and pieces you need to make a setup like this. And hopefully you'd be willing to come back in the future and do a few more of these.
Sure.
Different, because I know that there's a million different ways that you can grow hydroponically at home.
Oh yeah.
A lot of different choices and varieties of setups.
Yeah, this particular system is called a passive system. There's no pumps, no nutrient injection systems. Just as simple as you can get it. The only thing that you would need to add to this is the sufficient light. So if you don't have enough light in a south-facing window, then you could add a grow light to the system. That would be your only electricity use, essentially. I would probably not set this outside for any length of time in Florida, especially in the summer, because it will probably get a lot of rainwater in it. But if you can protect it outside, the sun is a free light source, so I would definitely do that.
That might be a little bit more efficient to do in the winter when it's a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
I think that maybe any container of water outdoors now would get very hot, and those roots would start to boil a little bit.
Yep, and then so to the different systems, there's all kinds of systems we could try to show on a small scale. This is just probably the easiest or the lowest level of entry to hydroponics.
Okay, well, great. Here, let me charge back over here and get back in the picture. Thank you very much, everybody. Like I said, we recorded this and we'll make this available through Facebook. If you have any suggestions, ideas, or requests of any other classes you'd like us to give, or any other hydroponics topics you'd like Jason to come back and teach on, just let us know. And other than that, everybody take care, be safe, and have a great weekend.